Martin Weiler from the Supporters Trust. I'm just going to say a few words before we lay the reeds. We're very, very proud to be holding this event today, which of course is Remembrance Day itself, but also in the 100th anniversary year of the outbreak of the First World War. The project to honour the players from Exeter City who died in that war emerged from two separate projects. The first of them was commemorating the tour to Argentina and Brazil, also in 1914, which of course ended with the players coming back and World War I having broken out and players going off to fight in that. And then secondly, behind you, you'll see our new Remembrance Garden, where the whole city family can pay tribute to those that have passed on. And we're starting to see the plaques that fans and families are leaving. Got a new one there for Adam Stansfield, for example. Both these projects together made us think about World War I and the fact that we knew that players who had played for Exeter City died in World War I, and we felt it was only right that they should be remembered. And Paul Farley from the Supporters Trust, who chairs our community group, made it his priority to have the plaque up by today. And you did it, Paul, so well done. But it's been a massive team effort. The garden behind, including, you'll notice there's primroses all around. They are primroses that are related to the primroses that used to be along the bank in front of the cowshed. I don't know if any of you remember the wonderful cowshed terrace. Some of the fans will. But it was quite high up, and there was a grass bank coming down to the pitch, and it was just full of primroses. And when the ground got redeveloped, fans bought the primroses. So we put an appeal out for people who still had them in their gardens to give us some. So some of the original primroses are behind you. Andy, where's Andy? Andy Holloway. Andy really got behind this project and led the project for the garden, but he was very much supported by staff here, particularly the estate staff, Clive Pring, the Colonel, other members of the estates team, and for one of our many volunteer supporters. I mean, we are fantastically lucky to have so many supporters with great skills, and we had a horticulturalist supporter, and he helped us design the garden and give us horticultural advice. The new stone memorial was produced and fitted by Richard Grant Memorials of Tiverton. One of the biggest challenges we had was actually researching and finding out which players had in fact died in World War I. And we've been terribly lucky that we've got several people who are interested in historical research, and they really helped us with that. So Aidan Hamilton, for example, who wrote the book about the trip to South America, but also Alison Stiles here. Alison, fantastic researcher, and she's got a real motivation to do that. Alison and her mum are related to one of the players who played in 1914 in South America, Jimmy Rigby, who stayed on in Exeter afterwards and was very much part of the club there. Also to Will Barrett. Will, from the University of Exeter, who's supporting the Trust on our many history projects. As befits a supporter-owned club, projects were supported and funded by the city family. We particularly want to thank the management and the players who made a substantial contribution towards this, the Supporters Trust itself, volunteers like John Fox, and many, many individual contributions from fans and fans groups. And big thanks to Andy Gillard, who made sure that all the paperwork was done, and all the finance staff that made sure we paid our bills for this, and therefore got a good reputation for the way we did business. Before we put the wreaths up, I just wanted to say a word or two, kind of reflecting on what was going on 100 years ago. I mean, in essence, players like you, 100 years ago, went off to South America. I mean, it must have been an extraordinary experience back then to go off to South America. It's probably quite something to go off this time. But when you came back, suddenly World War I, and in no time people were signing up and going off to fight. I think it's remarkable that, I mean, all the people that went to Brazil joined up. I think it is remarkable, given the numbers that died in World War One, that none of the players who went to Brazil actually died, although several were really badly injured. Classically, Billy Smith, who lost his leg and never played again. Several players never played again. But we do know of at least 11 players who had worn an Exeter City shirt at one time or another who died. And I think there's something almost spooky about the fact that it's 11. So if you think that's a whole team wiped out and died. And I was just going to mention two of them by example. Firstly, we've got the second one up, George Thomas White. And I'm mentioning him because the centenary of his death has already happened. It happened last week. So he was the first Exeter City player to die in the war on the 30th of October 1914. He was captain of the Exeter City reserve team. So he's a well-known figure around the club. And I think it's quite amazing that actually one of his teammates was with him when he died. So the top name, Frederick Henry Bailey, he played in the same team as George Thomas White, and he happened to work in the medical corps. So he was out in France in a hospital, and can you imagine it when one of his own teammates comes in and dies in front of him? So just that kind of really brought home to me what the impact must have been in the Exeter City family at the time. And then just the other one that I thought I'd mention, 4 up, Evelyn Henry Lintott. We've really had to research him. He went to St Luke's College in the early part of the 20th century and played a few times for City. We know he played for the reserves a few times, and we actually know he made at least one league appearance. We were playing in the Plymouth and District League that year for us. But he went on to have an absolutely brilliant professional football career. Played for several leading clubs and played for England 7 times. So he was quite a big figure in the game. And interestingly, you'll be interested in this, Pat, with the PFA hat on, he was actually the National Secretary of the Players' Union, which was the forerunner of the PFA. He signed up and he was killed like so many others, slaughtered on that terrible day, the 1st of July 1916, the Battle of the Somme. So they're just 2 examples, but what we want to do is, as the centenary of each death comes along, we will be researching and publishing the stories of each of those so we can really pay tribute to them. And we also, next year, when the gardens really set in, are hoping to have a major dedication event for the garden memorial. So for now, what I'd like is just for us maybe to have just a few moments silence, just to remember the players that died, and then I'll invite Scott and Andy to come up and lay wreaths on behalf of the players and on behalf of the club and the trust. So just a few moments silence, please. Thank you very much. Scott, if you could come and lay a wreath on behalf of the players. And Andy and Paul on behalf of the club and the trust. Thank you very much. That's the formal ceremony over. I suspect Rich would like to take some pictures, so we can just hang around for a minute while he poses some pictures. That would be great, but thank you very much.